A cognitive bias is a systematic error in thinking that occurs when people are processing and interpreting information in the world around them. It affects the decisions and judgments that they make. Dunning Kruger effect is a cognitive bias where people who are incompetent at something are unable to recognize their own incompetence. They're also likely to feel confident that they actually are competent. Low ability people do not possess the skills needed to recognize their own incompetence. The combination of poor self-awareness and low cognitive ability leads them to overestimate their own capabilities. Dunning and Kruger suggest that this phenomenon stems from something they refer to as a dual burden. People are not only incompetent, their incompetence robs them of the mental ability to realize just how inept they are, thus unlikely to learn and grow. Incompetent people tend to overestimate their own skill levels, fail to recognize the genuine skill and expertise of other people, fail to recognize their own mistakes and lack of skill. The knowledge and skills necessary to be good at a task are the exact same qualities that a person needs to recognize that they are not good at that task. So if a person lacks those abilities, they remain bad at that task and ignorant to their own inability. People affected by the Dunning-Kruger effect often have a lack of metacognition, which is the ability to step back and look at one's own behavior and abilities from outside of oneself. People are often only able to evaluate themselves from their own limited and highly subjective point of view. From this limited perspective, they seem highly skilled, knowledgeable, and superior to others. Because of this, people sometimes struggle to have a more realistic view of their own abilities. Therefore, the Dunning-Kruger effect arises from a gap between perceived and actual competence. Another contributing factor is that sometimes a tiny bit of knowledge on a subject can lead people to mistakenly believe that they know all there is to know about it. Unfortunately, we are all affected by the Dunning-Kruger effect. This is because no matter how informed or experienced we are, everyone has areas in which they are uninformed and incompetent. You might be smart and skilled in many areas, but no one is an expert at everything. Everyone is susceptible to this phenomenon. People who are genuine experts in one area may mistakenly believe that their intelligence and knowledge carry over into other areas in which they are less familiar. Dunning and Kruger found that those at the high end of the competence spectrum did hold more realistic views of their own knowledge and capabilities. However, these experts actually tended to underestimate their own abilities relative to how others did. These top-scoring individuals know that they are better than the average, but they are not convinced of just how superior their performance is compared to others. The problem is not that experts don't know how well informed they are, it's that they tend to believe that everyone else is knowledgeable as well. A number of different factors can also contribute to excessive levels of self-confidence. Upbringing, culture, personality, and past experiences can all play a role in shaping how a person's sense of self develops. In most cases, knowing your strengths and having the assuredness to go out and take risks are admirable qualities. But when this confidence makes you inflexible, as opposed to trying new things, and incapable of listening to others, it can become detrimental to success and well-being. The reason why people think they know more than they do is due to a type of overconfidence, called overprecision, which occurs when someone is exaggeratedly certain that their answers are correct. These individuals may seem highly competent and persuasive due to their apparent confidence. They are often driven by a desire for status and power and the need to appear smarter than the people around them. The consequences of this effect might mean that the most capable people do not always make the decisions, instead those with the greatest perceived ability take the lead. Overconfidence in our own abilities is something that happens to everyone once in a while. It is when this overconfidence occurs often that more serious and often lasting consequences can arise. The opposite of the Dunning-Kruger effect is impostor syndrome, or the feeling that one is undeserving of success. People who have impostor syndrome are plagued by self-doubt. The way to avoid the Dunning-Kruger effect is by learning more about how the mind works and the mistakes we are all susceptible to. Dunning and Kruger suggest that as experience with a subject increases, confidence typically declines to more realistic levels. As people learn more about the topic of interest, they begin to recognize their own lack of knowledge and ability. Then as people gain more information and actually become experts on a topic, the confidence levels begin to improve once again. Another effective strategy involves asking others for constructive criticism. This feedback can provide valuable insights into how others perceive your abilities.